Hi guys! Now, as regular viewers will know, I am a massive whiskey fiend, but that does not mean that I discount other aged spirits, and one of my favourite go-tos as a bit of a replacement for that is an Anejo or aged tequila. It has a lot of the same kind of richness and complexity that you expect from something like a Scotch or another style of whiskey, but still has a lot of that lovely kind of fruity and herbal agave character. So today we're going to do a little bit of a tasting and a little explanation of what an Anejo tequila actually is with this delicious 1800 Anejo tequila. And then we're also going to make 3 of my favorite drinks to make with it to show you that tequila is not just for margaritas. Now, people often think of tequila as something that's just for shots, but that really does it a disservice. It's one of the most kind of interesting and well-crafted spirits in the world. You do have a few different styles, so obviously Blanco tequila, which is usually what's used for your margaritas and things like that. That's kind of unaged, can be aged up to 2 months. You've then got Reposado, which can be aged for 2 months up to a year. And then we move up to Anejo, which can be aged for anywhere from 1 to 3 years. I'm gonna have a little taste of this and see what that aging process does. So 1800 is a very old distillery, and they do things quite traditionally, so kind of properly, I suppose, allow the agave to reach full maturity before it's harvested, and then they roast the agave really nice, low and slow, so you get all of that lovely flavor out of it and like a little hint of smokiness. And then for this one, they age it in both French and American oak for around 14 months. Quite a nice amount of time in barrel, still allows some of the spirit to show through, but then you get like all of that kind of lovely like vanilla and cinnamon baking spice that you would expect from an American oak barrel that you might associate with bourbon. But also the French oak adds a little kind of savory and almost like I find it like a bit of a tea-like tannin. So really nice and fresh and herbal on the nose, still really bright and lifted. And then a really lovely, rich and decadent palate where you're getting more kind of like caramel, very small hint of like a kind of smokiness, which adds lovely interest. And then heaps of like cinnamon. I get a bit of kind of stone fruit in there as well. Very tasty, so very happy to be working with this today to make some of my favorite tequila drinks that you might not have thought to use tequila in. What I really like about 1800 tequila as well is it is double distilled, so it's quite light and bright in body, so it does mix really well. I absolutely do love kind of sipping it neat or having it on the rocks. It's a good kind of alternative to whiskey in warmer months. On a big block of ice is delicious, but I also like substituting it into some cocktails. So we're going to look at one that's obviously very synonymous with whiskey, but this works really well in as well, and get started with a Tequila Old Fashioned. So the Old Fashioned is such a great cocktail to show off a really nice premium spirit like this, because it's really simple and it's just kind of enhancing the flavors that are already in there. So we're going to go in with 60 mils or 2 ounces of our 1800 Anejo. And then instead of our regular sugar syrup, or you might use a brown sugar syrup in an Old Fashioned, we're going to go with agave syrup. So made from the same plant as the tequila itself, really helps enhance some of those kind of like grassy, fresher notes while still having a nice amount of sweetness. This one's quite thick, so I'm only going to do about 5 mils of it, but you can obviously amend that to your own taste. I also find the 1800 has like a really nice kind of smooth sweetness to it, so it doesn't need too much extra sugar in there. And then we just are going to go in with some bitters. So you can absolutely play around with the bitters here. I like using maybe like a kind of like chocolatey cocoa one to bring out those flavors, or you can get some that are sort of designed for tequila. So something, if you happen to be in Australia, I think you can get it in the US as well. There's a bitters which is like pink grapefruit and agave, which works really nicely. But for this one, kind of keeping it close to the classic, so a few good dashes of Angostura. Then I'm going to stir that on a nice big block. Again, this tequila is really smooth and approachable already, so you really just want to chill it down. You don't need to dilute it too much. So delicious. Then we're going to put a nice big block of ice in our rocks glass. Strain this over the top. And then you can absolutely do an orange twist, as is traditional in an old fashioned. I just love tequila and grapefruit. It's pretty hard to go wrong. It works really nicely with some of the other flavors in there. So nice big twist of grapefruit over the top. And give it a little trim down and pop that in here. And there we have our Tequila Old Fashioned. Such an absolutely delicious drink. I really love that I do get some kind of stone fruit characters in the 1800 Anejo, and it's really like bright and fresh while still having all of that complexity and more kind of oaky flavors in there. So I think, you know, you definitely wouldn't upset a whiskey drinker by giving them this. In fact, you'd probably convert them, but tequila lovers will also still really like it as maybe a serve for tequila that they haven't thought of before. The Anejo Tequila Old Fashioned. So now you know. Now, probably my favorite whiskey drink of all time is the Manhattan. And again, this absolutely works so well with this delicious Anejo tequila substituted in there. Now, I kind of figured I would actually have a little bit of a play around with it. So using the kind of Manhattan concept of this spirit and then a fortified wine, but play into the flavor profile of this product specifically. So we're actually going to use a little amontillado sherry and then just a little dash of pear liqueur. And that works so well with the kind of like nutty oakiness in the Anejo tequila. And it also helps bring out a brighter stone fruit kind of character in there. So let's get started. This one we're going to go in with 45 mils of our 1800 Anejo. I always love when you get to have a little taste of something and it kind of inspires you. So the second I tried this, I wanted to put it with some sherry. So we're going to do 30 mils of amontillado sherry, which has a really nice kind of nuttiness to it. And then this one's just my little pear liqueur in here. So 10 mils of that. And a couple of dashes of bitters. I'm just using Angostura. Anything kind of classic baking spice will work to kind of bring out the oak character here. And then we're just going to give it a stir. So good. So this one I'm just going to put in a little chilled coupe glass. With a nice lemon twist over the top to freshen it all up. So this one is a Manhattan style drink, also inspired by La Perla, which is a bit of a modern classic cocktail, but just really showing how you can play around with some flavors to make a delicious drink using a special bottle. So bright and fresh and juicy. I think people always think that stirred down drinks have to be kind of like dark and brooding, but this one has, yeah, heaps of richness, heaps of kind of texture and complexity, but still really bright and lifted and fun. So there we have our Manhattan style La Perla tequila cocktail. So now you know. Now, last but not least, we're going to do another of kind of my favorite whiskey cocktails, but using the Anejo tequila instead. So that's the Gold Rush. It's sort of a play on a whiskey sour, so it's got your lemon juice in there, but uses honey to really kind of accent that aspect of the spirit. So for this one, I'm actually going to use some honey and then also a little bit of apricot liqueur, because again, I just feel like it gives that pop of fruitiness that you get from the 1800 Anejo alongside a more kind of like toffeed richness. If your friends normally drink a margarita, this might be a good one to kind of make them branch out from what they think of as tequila drinks into something a little different, but still nice and fresh and crisp. So we're going to go in with 60 mils of our 1800 Anejo. As I said, this is a really kind of nice and light, bright, approachable Anejo tequila, so works really well in this more citrusy style drink. Then 30 mils of fresh squeezed lemon juice. because tequila doesn't have to go with lime. And then 15 mils of a little honey syrup. So that's just honey that I've cut with water to make it easily poured. And then 15 mils of your favorite apricot liqueur. Then we're gonna shake this all up. Now the Gold Rush doesn't have egg white in it generally. Obviously a whiskey sour often does, so you can absolutely add that if you kind of like that foamy texture. So yummy. So I'll do a little double strain of that one. Add in a nice big block. And then this is a fun little garnish. So this is actually a little apricot bite. I always like a snack with my drinks where I can. So pop that on a little fork for them to have alongside. And then I'm going a little left of center with this one, but I'm actually going to use some rosemary because again, I feel like you still get a lot of that herbal character from the agave coming through in this, and that just kind of helps bring out that little savory, interesting edge to it. So a nice big stick of rosemary on the side here. And there we have your Tequila Gold Rush. Super bright and fresh. I love that little kind of savory interest from the rosemary. The apricot works so nicely with your kind of caramel baking spice chewiness from the 1800 Anejo Tequila Gold Rush. I hope that this has inspired you a little bit to maybe look at tequila a little bit differently. It's definitely not just for margaritas, especially when it's a really lovely, complex aged spirit like this 1800 Anejo. So a little bit of inspiration for you to mix it up next time. Tequila cocktails with 1800 tequila. So now you know.